All right, welcome everybody. Today's Midwest University talk is going to be about Bluebeam. We're going to look at Bluebeam Versatility. A lot of people have been exposed to the basic 101. We're going to push it further than that today and just show you some possibilities, more than markup. We're going to go through some estimating basics, some advanced stuff that I've built. I'll show you how those kind of work, and we'll go through, I'll show you a punch walk workflow, some civil stuff, and whatever else I can think of as we fire through. Just as a note, this isn't a training session per se. It's I'm not going to show you the picks and clicks as you go through and show you how to do these. I just want to show you what's possible, and hopefully at the end we'll have time to answer some questions. So I'm going to jump out of my PowerPoint here for a second and jump into Bluebeam, and let's get into the basics. So basic estimating. The first thing you need to do right away when you want to take measurements is calibrate. That's the most important button on this slide over here. You're going to click on that. It's going to tell you to pick 2 points of a known dimension. So I'm going to click OK and zoom in somewhere where I know a dimension. You'll notice that I have my snaps turned on down here, snap to content, which means I'm actually snapping to the line work in the PDF. I can click on each of those, enter in 30 feet, and click OK. Now all of the measurements that I do are going to give me accurate measurements. So again, snapping to that content is going to be super important when you're taking measurements. I can double check that 30 feet. If I'm looking for measurements that aren't provided, I can now get those coming in here and grabbing onto room dimensions. Okay, so that's the length tool. Pretty simple. Everybody probably knows how to do that. If you have, let's say, bracing, diagonal bracing in this bay of your grid pattern in the structure, and you want to figure out the length of that member, you can just select that markup, come over to the measurement panel over here, and let's just say, let's keep pitch in there, and we'll switch this over to a 712 pitch. It'll label that 712 and give us a new length for that member. So it does the math for us. We can figure out the slopes for stair stringers and ramps and things like that as we go. So that is the length measurement. We also have the poly length. A lot of times I use this to build maybe tools for electrical. So I can come in here and put an outlet here. I'm going to run this down and go into the server room. So I'm just drawing a polyline, double click at the end. And here you can see it gives me the length of each segment. And on the end over here, it's giving me a total length for that whole run. Now with electrical, we know that there's an outlet perhaps 8 feet down from the ceiling on each end. So I can grab that line, go over to the rise drop over here in the measurement panel and add 16 feet, 8 feet for each end. Hit enter. It's going to label it with the rise drop 16 feet and give us a brand new total length of 66 foot 10. Okay. I know I'm going fast here. I got a lot to show you guys in an hour, so hang on tight. Next one is area. Simple ways to do that one. Just click and drag. Snapping in those corners will give you that square footage. This is always going to land on top of something. I know Revit and everybody's trying to find the center of the room for their label. You can hold your shift key down and be able to move that label without moving the whole markup. Another way to do area is clicking on the corners. So instead of click and drag a rectangle, we can click on all the corners here, double click to close that shape. And then over here, a little trick with this corner, if I right click, I can convert to an arc, and this square footage will update for me, giving me the square footage of that room. Some cool things that we can do once we have the area measurement. If I grab that room there, 100 feet, and come over to my measurement tab, I can tell it that that is an 8-foot ceiling or a 9-foot ceiling. Hit enter. And now down here, you're going to see show caption. I can turn on the length, which is going to be the length of the perimeter. The volume, if you're doing any sort of mechanical calcs. The depth is that ceiling height again. And then we also have the wall area. So if you're doing any sort of sheetrock or paint estimates, you can get the wall area as well. And that's all going to show up just by doing that area measurement. So some cool stuff there. My favorite way to do area measurements is dynamic fill. It's over here on the far right side. If I click on that, it's going to open up this new toolbar. And in here, the way that dynamic fill works, it needs a continuous line all the way around the perimeter of the area I want to measure. And since I have open doors here, I'm going to close those by adding a boundary. So I'm going to click on that, come in here, draw a line through there. Then I'm going to select my paint bucket, and I need to make sure that I tell it to report the area. If I don't select one of these things to tell it to report, it's just going to cancel when I hit apply and not give me those values. So that's a common mistake in training. Make sure you turn on that area measurement, grab your paint bucket, and then you can come down here and just start pouring paint. It's going to fill that space, and I hit apply, and it does a really nice job going around all these curves and giving me that square footage. Next one I want to show you is the count measurement. But before I do that, I'm going to show you how to create a custom tool real quick. So I'm going to use my edit snapshot tool. Go and take a picture of this toilet real quick. It's on my clipboard now. I'm going to do a Control V, paste that off to the side over here. And so that is now a markup. I'm going to actually change the colors. So all the black pixels I want to turn to red and say OK. And I'm going to right click and add that to my tool chest. Now I have a toilet tool that I can suggest all over this storage room if I want to. Okay. What I want to do though, as far as estimating goes, I want to create a count tool. So if I right click on here, I can create a count, and that will basically create another tool like this one here. I already created that one. So now when I select that, I can go and place this on top of each of the toilets. Instead of just a generic check mark, I know exactly what I'm counting. So when I go down into my markups list down here and select that markup, you'll see it's labeled as toilet, and it tells me there's 2 of them. So what would be nice is if we could actually do a search and ask Bluebeam how many toilets there are. And we can do that over in the search over here with a visual search. And all I'm going to do is click on Get Rectangle over here. And come down. Oops, I need to close this one, sorry. Get Rectangle. Of course, it's going to lock up on me. All right, I guess we're not going to show that one. Get Rectangle, you can just take a picture of the toilet, tell it to find all of them. It'll find those. I'll skip over that one, sorry guys. Next, I'm going to move into another one here to security devices. So here I've got custom tools built for all kinds of different types of devices, access control, communication, doors and barriers. And these are all sequence or all count measurements as well. So when I place those, it's going to place the symbol here wherever I want that symbol. And if I come down here, it's going to give me the quantity of that markup. So let me see here. So it's going to tell me there's 3 of them in that sequence. So we can very quickly, and you'll see down here with some of these different keypads and stuff like that, we can go into tech option. We could put some choices in there. maybe on the mount type, this is a flush mount, and camera type is going to be a bullet. We can build all of that stuff into these custom columns down here. And actually you could put a price in here as well. So when your sales team is walking around with an iPad in an existing building, they can place all of these symbols where they think they might need to be and immediately have an estimate. Then they could actually get this back to the engineers in the office where they could design it and make sure that the spacing and everything is correct. While they're doing that, the estimate down in the markups list is automatically updating. So, and then we can also use this same document as the install. So if I come down here in the status, I can double click and mark this one completed. And you'll see that it stamps the date and the time of when I said that was complete. So you can keep track from sales all the way through facility management if you want to. You know exactly what part this is that needs to be replaced. That is my security example. Let's jump over to wall finishes and flooring. So in here, again, a bunch of custom tools in here for different flooring. I built these to be generic floor type 1 through 10 to fit, you know, any given job. Hopefully there's less than 10, and you can basically in the architectural finishing schedule, you'll know what FT1 is. You can assign those and easily go through. So again, I just went through with dynamic fill and filled these rooms. I also built transition strips. So that one is transition strip 2. I'm going to make sure that there's another one down here. And all I do is trace over this line and snap to those edges. Transition strip 2 labels it, gives us a length. And when I go down to the markups list, you'll see here all the different individual pieces of transition strip, the length of those, and the total length that I need for this job. So you can very easily track this stuff. I also had tools for inside corners and outside corners. You can count those up. Connectors, wall tile, again, doing that, doing the height of the wall to get the wall area in here. All kinds of examples you can do there. Next one, I'm going to jump into windows. So here, I did a blog post a while ago on Bluebeam and burgers, and actually on the Bluebeam Built blog, they published it there originally, on how to do assemblies when you're doing estimates. So here we've got some storefront and curtain walls. I went in and again, custom tools. So I have a tool for install types. I went through, this is my storefront and my curtain wall. I did an area measurement of that whole area so that we can figure out the labor costs. Then we go into storefront joints or curtain wall joints, and we click in here everywhere there's going to be joints. And this gives us a quantity of 2 for every one of those horizontal pieces. Then we go into the types of glass. So here you can see I have glass along the bottom. It's a different type of glass than what's on the top. So I put all that in there. And what you'll see down here in the markups list is quantities for all those different types. So we built custom columns for layers. I wanted to put things on layers so I can turn them on and off. We have fabrication hours, linear footage of caulking. We have the storefront hours, and then the number of windows if we need that. So you can see in here that we quickly went through. And the assemblies part, to explain that, basically, I used the spaces tool. This is generally used in a floor plan so that you can mark what punch items fall into each room and assign it to the room. I used it for assemblies. So I just came in with my curtain wall, drew a box around that curtain wall area, named it curtain wall. I also did one for the storefront at the main entrance. And we could also come in here and create a new one and just go around this whole thing and call this west elevation. Say okay. And now down here in the markups list, you're going to see it's itemized over here. We've got west elevation, curtain wall. And this is all of the materials that are needed to complete that wall assembly. And then we've got the west elevation main entrance. This is everything we need to build out that storefront. So a little trick I used with using spaces and creating assemblies there. Next, I'm going to go into occupancy calculations. So with this one, again, built custom columns in here with formulas so that when we do the area of a room, it will tell us how many people can be in there. So up here, you'll also see that I created a legend. It gives us the total square footage of that type of room and the occupancy. So again, how that works, we'll just come in here, do some area measurements again. When we have dynamic fill open to use in these rooms, you'll notice that we can go to our pull down and select from our custom tools in here as well. So let's say I'm going to go into just create a business area in this room, close the door, go to my paint bucket, and just start pouring paint. This time I'm going to bleed through the door tag, and I'm going to hit apply. It's going to label it business. And then up here, it added business area as a new line item and gave me the total occupancy. Okay. So that is how we can start to build formulas into these. That one is square inches. Let me fix that. If I select it and come over here, the area wants to report square inches. I'm going to switch that to square feet. And that's more realistic with 2 people in there. So some ideas there for a little bit more advanced estimating. Next, I want to show you guys a punch example. So I'm going to jump over here. And for this one, I basically played the role of a general contractor. I created custom tools for all the different disciplines. Dark red means that that's a structural item. Orange means it's mechanical. Blue is plumbing, electrical is yellow, and so on. And I went through and just did my final walkthrough. I did my markups here, verify with window manufacturer. This little symbol here means that I attached an image to it. When I click on that, it's going to open up a flip book and show me the image that's associated with that markup. So I can embed these images into my site walk. I can also embed 360-degree images. If I click here, you can see it collects a lot more data. I can come in here and spin this image and find things that I didn't originally think I went to the site to look at. How you do that, adding those images, you can select any markup at all in here. Just right click on it, go to capture. You can either go from camera if you're on site with an iPad or Surface Pro, or I'm just going to go from file, navigate out to my image folder where my pictures are, and I'm going to select the image that I want to attach to that. So now when I click on that, it brings up my image. Again, what I did here was create spaces for each room. So I can come down here to my markups list and I can sort this by space. If I click on the column, It'll sort it by space. And now you can see all of the markups that are related to room 1250. If I click on there, it'll bring me directly to that room and show me all of the markups in that room. So I can go from room to room. If I'm a mechanical contractor, I would come in and just switch this over to only show mechanical. It filters out the others, just graying them out so they're not drawing attention. And then I could look in here and say, okay, I've got some updates that I need to make in room 1254. So I can come up to 1254, see what those are, and make those fixes. And then also, once I'm done, come into the status and mark that complete. Okay, we can also create a report of this. So if I'm the general contractor and my subs don't have Bluebeam, I can easily come into the summary here and create a PDF summary. Send it to my letterhead if I want to. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to go through and create an 8.5 by 11 report for me, showing me all the information down in the markups list. So what page it's on, what color it is, all the layers, all that stuff is on here. And then it also gives me a preview of the image that's attached. And over here, you'll notice that my cursor changed. This is actually a hyperlink that's going to jump me to that spot on my drawing as well. That 8.5 by 11 report is now added to the document. And at the end, it gives me a capture media summary as well. This is where you can download the images to save. Basically, your PDF is a container at this point, and all of the images live in that PDF. So when I send this drawing with the report, it's going to bring all of the images along with it. I don't have to worry about attaching those to the email, the size of the email, any of that stuff, zipping it all up. It all lives inside this PDF now. Okay, so those are, I'll go back to the plan here and show you. I'm going to turn off my filter. I also created legends here. So it's giving me quantities. So my mechanical contractor knows that they need 4 air duct returns in order to complete their punch list. So you can very quickly reference that stuff as well. I'm flying through here, guys. Let's see. Let's jump into some civil structural workflows here. Come down here, select this one. And what I want to show you here is some estimating, obviously, but calibration. So a lot of times when you open up drawings that you get from somebody else, they'll have big blue windows everywhere and you don't know what to do with them. Those are called viewports. So if you come over to the measurement tab over here, you'll see viewports. More often than not, you can probably just delete what's in there to get rid of those blue squares. I have one called plan in here because I drew this viewport in here and set the scale and calibrated it so that we can do measurements. So in here, I've already traced over some of this curb with the curb and gutter tool. I went over this one as well. I'll show you how we did that. I'll just finish going over this area here. And all I need to do is trace over these lines. Double click when I'm done. And the thickness of that line is visual on purpose because I wanted to represent the width of that. I believe that's a 24-inch wide curb, that symbol here. I'm going to right click on this line segment and convert that to an arc. And this will help me trace that shape a little bit better to get it more accurate. Do another one here. And then you'll see here, it also labeled it with that type of curb and gutter. So I believe those are standards that are built, standards specs. We just I built the tools so that we could look down here at our curb and gutter tools, the B612. You'll see that's this run here. There's also another one over here around the parking lot. And for that type, we have a total of 844.5 feet. And that's going to give us 40 cubic yards of concrete to do that, to do those runs of curb and gutter. I also want to show you the slabs. So in here, if I come down to my isolated pad footings, we can grab the 12-inch footing and just draw that in here. You'll notice in Review 20, down the new update, they actually show this little tool over here that gives you the dimensions, the shape you're drawing. This custom tool will give us the label. It's telling it it's a 12-foot pad footing. The width is 18.8 and the height is 17.7. If I go down to my markups list down here, because I have a depth associated with that area of 1 foot, it can give me the cubic yards of concrete. I also have formulas built in here, so I can come in and say there's number 7s in this particular case. Skip over the strip footing. Maybe we have top and bottom bars, and they're spaced at 18 inches on center. I can put that in. And 18 inches on center that way. And you'll notice as we start putting those in here, it's going to do the math and give us the bar grid total. If there's welded wire fabric, we could start adding that in as well. But it's going to give us the quantities of all the rebar and the concrete for that footing. Okay, this one here, same thing. 30 by 20, 1 foot spacing each way. This one's number 5s, 1 mat, and it's going to give us the totals here. So really the only limit to your estimates is your creativity. Everything's a formula of your length, linear footage, area, or count. And beyond that, you build formulas and custom columns, and you can estimate just about anything. Question in here. Have you found a way yet to make the punch items have a sequel number? So you can, for instance, call out punch number. You could do a sequence if you wanted to. If I went back, let me see. Sorry, I'll jump back into the punch. These tools are set up so that there's data behind the symbol itself. So when I place that, if I look at the markups list, it's going to give me, sorry, it's not letting me select now. It's going to allow me to see, like this one here, get those bolts in ASAP, stuff like that. Those notes can live within that symbol. If you turn that into a sequence, you can certainly do that. I would have to play around with that to know exactly what you're after, but you should be able to do that with your punch items as well. You're going to want one list, not broken out by discipline or anything like that, so that you're pulling from one tool and it's going to continue counting. To show you what a sequence looks like, I can go through like this, and it's just going to keep counting as far as I go. And you can set it up. I don't know if this one is for sure, but when I delete this one, it renumbers the ones after it. So you could build that out as well. These tools are going to be pretty generic, just symbols, but you could definitely come down and start filling in comments and things like that in these markups? Okay, good question, Jose. Hopefully that answers it. If I jump over back into Civil, I'm going to show you guys how to create that viewport, because down here, I've got a profile drawing. So here it's all one scale horizontally. And down here, because it's a profile, we've got a couple different scale factors. So I'm going to go over here to the Measure tab, click the plus. It wants me to draw a region around the area to create the viewport. So I'm just going to come and draw this box. And I'm going to call it profile. And I want to calibrate. So I'm going to click here. Select 2 points of a known dimension. I'm going to click OK. And then down here, you're going to see that we have 100 feet from here over to here. I'm going to put that in, type in my 100 feet. Select apply. And then the next thing I want to do, because I have a different vertical scale, I want to click over here on separate vertical scale. And I want to calibrate that. Select 2 points again. And this time I'm going to select my grid here and tell it that that's 2 feet. And now I can start to go in and get measurements inside of this viewport. So again, I can go and select my area measurement. And let's just say this is a cut fill profile. I want to see what I'm cutting out of this hillside. Just for rough purposes, I'll cruise through here. And then the second to the last point, I'm just going to double click down here. It fills that in for me and gives me my square footage. So I realize that's probably not the units we want to see. So I'm going to switch this over to cubic yards. And I need to turn on my volume. And I also need to give this a depth. So the area, we can get square yards. If I'm doing a cut fill workflow here, maybe this section cut represents the next 20 feet into the page. So what I'm going to do there is give that markup that 20-foot depth into the page. Okay. Now, once I have that, I can turn on my volume and it's going to do the math. This area times the 20 feet into the page gives me 1,000 cubic yards. So you can start to do your cut fill quantities in here as well. I've also built some tools where you go through and there's different area measurements represented by 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, and so on. And you can go and use dynamic fill to fill in the contours and start to get your quantities that way on whether you're doing cut or fill measurements. You can see some of those workflows on my blog and YouTube channel at Bluebeam and Burgers if you're interested in those. The last one I'm going to show you is digital plan review. So I work with a lot of cities, done a lot of implementations, and for doing their permit plan review. And the tools that I've built for them, not necessarily estimating per se, but they are important to be able to get these buildings up to code before they're built. So what I've done is build several tools here. Their department is the utility department and building permits. So we've got utility building. We built in this code, utility building note 7. I can select that and go and place that wherever it needs to be in the plan. And you'll see that because we created these codes, it's just a small little markup that fits in those rooms. I don't have to go and do a Cloud Plus or a text box or anything like that to call out those notes. This is a Cloud Plus. Just draw a cloud, tell it where you want the note, and you blah, blah, blah. That's the city's comments. Okay, I don't have to type that out every time because I placed those symbols. And you can see down here, just by placing that symbol right here, it brought in this whole note. That lives in the background. I don't ever have to type that again. If I hire somebody next week, they can place the exact same markups with the same verbiage in here. So you can see here, if you can go through, entire spec sections or code sections are built into these tools. We also have fire symbols. So if there's different symbols that you need to place on the plan, you can build those in. I put them on a fire sprinkler layer so that we can turn layers on and off. We also have notes in here. Again, that's another code section. But you can see how quickly we can start to get data-rich markups into our drawings here. And again, if I create a summary on this one as the deliverable, it's going to attach it to that drawing again, give me a thumbnail of all of those, and give me all the notes. Once we're going through, you can see all those notes are filled in. I don't have to type those because most of the time right now, that's a paper workflow. Everybody's on looking at full-size plans. They're marking things with a marker. They're taking notes off to the side on their notepad. And then later they retype all those notes into a report and send that over. Well, we get the report for free. We can actually read our writing. We don't have to worry about somebody's chicken scratching and being able to read what they're saying. So a lot of efficiencies with those workflows as well. Let's see, did I miss anything? If you guys have any questions, go ahead and type those into the chat or the questions and I'll see if I can answer them. I'm gonna look through my notes. I know I went super fast, so just as a reference, there are several different tools that I've built. Just to list a few here, these are some, if this fits what you guys are doing and you're looking for some custom tools, you can certainly contact me. I'll put that slide up in a minute. How are you making the neater legends? I'm not sure what you mean by neater, Samuel. I'm going to jump over to one of those. I'm going to assume that maybe when you do a legend, it looks like this, maybe with different line styles. Or maybe there's no lines at all. If we turn this all the way down, maybe that's what you're seeing. You can go into the properties of that legend and bump up the line width, whatever you want to see that at. You can change the color of the lines. You could even put in a fill color if you wanted to. Kind of messes with the colors over here. All kinds of things that you can do over here. The symbol, you can bump up the size of the symbol over there on the far left side. Put in the, I like the grid lines so you can see all of it in there. Change your fonts. All this stuff is adjustable. Good question, Samuel. Thank you. Any other questions about some of the tools that I built? Maybe spark some ideas that you might use it for. You can see I've got a long list of tools, different things in here. Land development, again, maybe for a city zoning department, doing those area measurements for residential and commercial zoning, things like that. And I've also seen it where I didn't have an example to open today, but an example where you can link your markups in Revu to Excel file and have all of your formulas over in Excel. That's an extremely powerful workflow there. And I've actually seen it where you bring in those quantities, very similar to what we did for occupancy. We could bring all these different room types into an Excel file and then build a pie chart to show the ratio of the types of rooms in there. So using Bluebeam to mark up the drawings and using Excel to run those calculations and those reports for you. Some pretty cool stuff. Do you have tools for short circuit TV? I have built some, yeah. Those are, I believe, access. There's some screen devices, sensors, video surveillance, all kinds of different tools in here. I don't know if that's answering your question. Anonymous. Hopefully that helps. Oops, I didn't want that window. Let's see, I'll jump back here. Let's see if I can find one of those examples for the quantity link. There we go. I have a video that I'll show, and I'm just going to pause and start this over. So what you're going to see here is I've got my Excel file over on the side. I've got all the different components of the building that I'm doing a takeoff on. And then over here, I have tools for wood framing. In this example, this is a 4-foot wall because it's underneath this window. And all I'm going to do is trace that with my custom tool. So you can see here, I'm going to play this just a couple, 30 seconds. So you can see all my quantities are 0 over there for my wood framing. I go and grab my wood frame tool and I just go and trace over this wall. I had already calibrated, so I'm getting the correct measurements. Double click, it highlights the wall. It labels it wood frame wall, 152 feet. But what you'll see over there in the Excel file is the formula, the magic. So we brought in 152 feet of wall. So we have 152 feet of treated base plate. We doubled that for the top plate. We did studs at 16 inches on center. The foam that goes under the base plate on top of the masonry comes in 50-foot boxes. So we took the 152 feet, divided it, and came up with 3 boxes. Anchor bolts at 72 inches on center, batted insulation, and sheathing on the exterior. Tells us how many sheets of sheathing we need. Just all formulas based on the 152 feet and that wall being 4 feet tall. So lots of cool stuff. Steel tools, the foundations I showed you. I'm glad I found that one. Any questions on that one? Does the legend automatically populate with the new floor tile? Yeah, let's jump back over to the floor tile. Come over here. I want a legend. This one was floor tile. So I'm going to create a legend. Just click on the gear here, create a legend, create new, and we can just drop that on our plan. And then this is where you start to customize what you want in here. So coming over to your properties, edit columns, turn on and off the things that you don't want to see. So we've got our linear footage or our length. I'm going to turn on the area. Some of these other ones didn't load because it was a different profile. So, but here it's going to give us that area for floor tile 1. And as soon as I start to come in here and draw additional types of flooring on my plan, it's going to load that up and it's going to update it and sort them by area is how I have it set up. So the smaller ones are going to be on the top. Does that answer your question, Chris? Electrical contractor, custom tools. I have built some. I don't know that I have an example per se. I showed you the polylength tool. A lot of times that's what I use for electrical, doing those electrical runs. I can, if I want to, right click on these and convert to an arc, kind of make that a little bit smoother like you would. Again, add the rise drop in there. You got 16 feet. But then what I would do is, as far as customizing tools, I would go to the properties. And let's say I want to name this one Cat 5. Cat 5E. And I'll put that in the subject as well. Paste. I'm going to make it dark blue. I'm going to change the line style. And maybe I'll make it a little thicker. Okay, now I just right click, add that to my tool chest. You'll see it right here. It's going to bring in an exact duplicate of that wire. We know that we'll never use that again. So if you double click on it, it changes the icon. And now I can come in and draw a new shape. Double click when I'm done. And now I have a Cat 5 tool that's giving me the automatic rise drop and the total length. And if you come down here to your markups list, it's going to give you Cat 5, the length of each run, and the total. So again, if those come in 1,000-foot boxes, we could figure out, we could ask it how many boxes there are. How is it automatically populate? If you create that legend, Chris, when I did it here in the gearbox legend, create new legend, it's creating a legend of everything that's inside of this tool set. Okay, so as I create those, it's going to fall into that legend. Got it. Good. Good question. Those can be tricky on what they report and what they don't. Looks like we've got a few minutes left for questions. If you have anything, now's the time to jump in. If not, before you jump out, I'm going to put my contact slide back up. Since I didn't introduce myself at the beginning, my name is Troy DeGroat. I'm with U Chapter 2, a business I just started to help customize and train all your Bluebeam needs. So you can contact me. My email is here. Find me on LinkedIn. Bluebeam and Burgers is a blog that I've been running for about 4 years and a YouTube channel. So go check out those tips and tricks and workflows as well. And the main thing I want to point you to today is my website that is not quite launched yet. uchapter2.com, there's going to be a very active forum in there called the Brainery. And I would invite you guys to join that, interact. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're actually going to earn points for asking questions and answering questions. And those points are going to earn you a Brainery belt. Yes, you can earn a Brainery black belt on my forum. So if you guys are interested in that, send me a message on LinkedIn and I will make sure that I give you an invite to the beta before that's released. It should be out relatively soon, but get a hold of me on LinkedIn, connect with me, and I'll send you an invite so you can get in there and start playing around. Thank you, Anonymous. Best burger at Boondocks. Ooh, I just had one there, Chris, about a month ago. I don't remember what it was. It was good though. Thanks, Juliana. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it. That's all I got for you guys. If you don't have questions, have a good rest of the day and reach out with your questions. Happy to help. Thank you, Juliana. Bianca, thank you. David, thank you, sir. No problem, Chris. You're welcome for the tips. Thanks, Jeffrey. I appreciate it. Buffalo Tap Burgers. I think I know who you are, Anonymous. Good to have you on, Philip. I'm not. Justin, is the recording going to be linked somewhere? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh no, that's quite all right. Yeah, in the next couple of days we'll have it up on our YouTube channel, and I will post the link in the chat right now.
Awesome, thank you, sir. I want to thank Midwest University for allowing me to present. This is a platform that I've wanted to be on for years, and certainly a great event. Can't wait till they're live again, and happy to be back anytime. So thanks to ATG. All right. I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and I'll watch, but have a good rest of the day, everybody. And I appreciate your watching.